My name is Monica Patrick. I am 56 years old. I'm from Abia State, and I'm a nurse. But today, I am not coming to talk as a nurse. I am speaking as a broken woman, a haunted woman. I live in a beautiful house. I drive 2 big cars. I eat what I want, not what I see. I wear fine clothes, travel when I want, and give out cars like gifts to men. But no man has ever asked me to marry him. I've never been married. I have no child. My womb has never carried life, and my arms have never held a baby that was mine. Every night, I return to a silent house, filled with expensive things but soaked in emptiness. Loneliness is not just the absence of people. It's the weight of silence when your soul is screaming and nobody hears. For many years, I used to think I was simply unlucky with men. I would do everything: cook, clean, give, support, pamper, but they still left. I remember one. I gave him a Corolla. Just 2 weeks later, he drove it to another woman's house. Another, I sponsored to travel to Dubai, paid for his ticket, hotel, clothes, even gave him pocket money. He came back and married a 22-year-old girl. One even told me to my face, "You are good for help, not for love." I gave and gave, but I never received love in return. And as the years went by, I started to ask myself, why? Why is my life like this? Why am I so empty despite having so much? I didn't need a prophet to tell me. I knew the answer was me. It was my hands that built the prison I now live in. Let me tell you how it all started. I was a brilliant nurse. Even from my early 20s, I was among the best in any hospital I worked in. I was neat, fast, trustworthy, mothers loved me, doctors trusted me. But in those hospitals, I noticed something. Every time a woman gave birth to a baby girl, there was tension. Most of the husbands wouldn't come. If they came, they didn't smile. Some didn't even carry the child. But once it was a boy, everybody would be celebrating, singing, bringing wine, gifting the nurses money. That pressure, that obsession, opened the door for evil. One day, a woman came to me quietly and said, "Nurse Monica, please. I had 6 girls. If this one is not a boy, my husband will chase me out." I looked at her. She was crying bitterly. She said, "Even if it's not mine, just let me go home with a son." I told her, "That's not how life works." She held my hand and said, "I will pay you whatever you want." I walked away that day, but her tears haunted me. A few weeks later, the opportunity came. 2 women gave birth within hours. One had a boy, one had a girl. The woman with the girl was the one who had begged me earlier. I looked at the babies, I looked at the mothers, and I did something I've never forgiven myself for. I swapped them. Nobody knew. I documented it like nothing happened. The woman with the baby boy wept for joy and hugged me. The real mother of the boy went home thinking she had given birth to a girl. And that was how it began. After that, more women started to come. Some might be referred by others. "Nurse Monica, please, my husband needs a boy. I can't take another girl. Help me. You're a mother. You'll understand." Each one dropped an envelope. And 100,000, and 150,000. And 250,000. One woman gave me land. And I kept doing it. The money was sweet. I built my own clinic. I furnished it. I employed staff. I bought a car. I was no longer just a nurse. I was now the owner of Monica Family Care Clinic. But unknown to me, I was digging my own grave. Everything started crashing slowly. First, the staff began to resign without warning. One said she was hearing strange voices in the consulting room. Another said she saw blood on the nursery walls that disappeared when others entered. Patients stopped coming. Even ordinary malaria cases, they avoided my clinic. I didn't know what was happening until one day. A woman stood outside my gate and shouted, "Monica, you stole my joy and sold to another. I've been having this dream almost every week." She was screaming like a mad woman. "You gave my son to another woman. You destroyed my life." I called the police. They took her away. But that night, I couldn't sleep. Because I remembered her face. She was one of the early ones from the hospital I was working before I built my own. My money started disappearing. I tried to start a business, everything collapsed. I tried dating again but more heartbreak. I joined a church. But each time they started worship, I would hear baby cries in my head. One time, I knelt down to pray, and a voice said, "How many mothers did you destroy?" I got up and didn't return to that church again. I developed health issues. I started forgetting things. My skin began to change. My BP became unstable. I had ulcers that refused to heal. Sleep had gone out of my eyes. I'd hear babies laughing, then crying. My mind was no longer at peace. So I shut everything down, closed the clinic, sold my stocks, isolated myself in my house. I began to ask myself, is this what wealth is for? To be alone, unloved, unremembered, and unforgiven. I thought that would be the end. But no, life had more reminders for me. I got a phone call that shook me. It was from a number I didn't know. A man's voice said, "Good afternoon. Is this Nurse Monica?" I hesitated, then said yes. He replied, "My name is Chima. I was born at City Life Hospital in Aba in 2002. I believe you may have had something to do with my birth." My hand began to shake. I didn't know what to say. He said, "I've done a DNA test. The people I grew up calling my parents are not biologically mine. And they confirmed I was delivered at your hospital." He didn't accuse me. He didn't scream. But the silence on the phone, it pierced deeper than shouting ever could. I asked him, "What do you want me to do?" He said, "Just tell me the truth. Who am I? Who is my real mother?" But I had no answer. The records were gone. That clinic had closed over 15 years ago. The staff had scattered. And I didn't even know which child he was. I begged him for time. He said nothing and cut the call. I sat on the floor for hours, holding that phone, wishing I could go back in time. After that call, I became more afraid to answer unknown numbers. After some months, another call came. Unknown number again. I didn't want to pick, but something in me said, "Pick this one." I answered slowly. "Hello." A soft voice, a young man's, said, "My name is Chidubem. I got this number from someone who used to work with you in the clinic." I held my breath. He continued, "I don't really know why I'm calling you. But the people I know as my parents, they don't love me anymore." His voice cracked. "They used to treat me well. But now, they curse me. They say things like, it must be the mother or the father that had the stealing blood. They say, if we had known, we would have kept our own female child, the one God gave us, instead of this thief." He paused, then said the words that broke me. "They told me to leave, that they don't want me again." I leaned against the wall, shivering. I had no words. He asked me, "Please, Auntie, is it true I was switched? I just need to know. I don't even want to go back. I just want to know if I was ever really theirs." I closed my eyes, and tears rolled down without control. But I couldn't say yes, and I couldn't say no. So I told him, "Chidubem, I don't have the records anymore. I honestly don't know. But I'm sorry, I truly am." The line went silent. Then he said, "If you were me, how would you feel?" I couldn't answer. He hung up. I didn't sleep that night. My head kept ringing with his words. If you were me, how would you feel? I was still asking myself that question when, 2 days later, Chidubem called again. He said, "I found out about you through someone. A woman. She used to work in your clinic as an assistant nurse." My heart skipped. "Which of them?" I asked. He said her name, and I remembered. He said, "I met her when I went to do some investigations about my birth." She looked at me long and hard and said, You don't belong in that family." Then she told me about the clinic, about the swabs, about you. I tried to explain myself. I said things like, "I didn't mean to hurt anyone. I was under pressure. I needed money at the time." But he said something that pierced my soul. "You played God. You had no right." Then he asked again, "Can you help me find my real parents?" I was silent. I didn't know how to say that I had thrown away all the clinic records long ago, out of fear. Burnt them in a pit and prayed God would forget me. I whispered, "Chidubem, I don't even know who your real parents are." I didn't keep track. I wasn't thinking about the future. I was only thinking about the money and the pressure. That boy, he didn't yell. He just said, "Then you have finished me." And the line went dead again. That one sentence, "Then you have finished me," repeated in my mind like thunder for days. I stopped eating. I lost appetite. I barely bathed. I sat in my sitting room like a shadow, thinking about how many other people I had finished. How many children were out there, suffering rejection in homes they were not meant to be in. How many mothers were being insulted for giving birth to a child that doesn't resemble anybody. How many fathers had secretly done DNA tests and now live in bitterness, thinking their wives cheated. And how many marriages have scattered, all because of me. One morning, I stood in front of my mirror. I sat in that chair for days, not watching TV, not answering calls. Just sitting. Days turned into nights, nights into weeks, and that one voice, Chidubem's voice, never left my head. "You have finished me." One evening, I decided to visit the old compound where I once ran the clinic. The place was now a mechanic workshop. I stood far away, staring. A boy there asked me, "Mama, you did find somebody?" I shook my head and walked away. On my way back, I passed a church where a crusade was happening. I saw people screaming, singing, rolling on the floor. And I told myself, these people are praying for miracles while I am hiding 100 curses inside. A few days after that, I saw Chidubem's name again on my phone. I almost didn't pick, but I did. He sounded calmer this time. He said, "I may never find my real parents, but I'm trying to find myself." I nodded silently. He asked, "Why did you really do it? Why did you start swapping children?" I whispered, "Because I was angry. Because I was desperate." Then he said, "You are a complete set of devil." The line went dead again. Something in me for months now had been telling me to confess to the world, so that I will have peace of mind, so that the burdens in my soul will be lifted. It was hard, too hard, to do so. But what else do I do than to finally speak? That's my reason for coming out to confess this to the whole world. So to anyone listening, hear me well. I had money. I gave out cars. I was respected, even feared. But I never had love. I never had peace. I have food, but no appetite. I have drinks, but no joy. I have houses, but no one to call Mama. Please, don't be like me. No matter what pain life brings you, don't let it turn your heart to stone. No matter how much pressure you're under, don't exchange people's children. If you work in any position of power, medical, legal, religious, never play with another person's destiny. What seems like a small lie today might destroy generations tomorrow. To every man out there, stop insulting your wife because she gave birth to girls. To every woman, stop rushing to buy children to please society. And to anyone struggling in silence, please don't let bitterness drive you into evil. As for me, this is my last voice. Not because I'm dying tonight, but because I want to finally rest. Rest from the guilt, rest from the fear, rest from the shame. Let this story go far. Let it go wide. Let it warn. Let it teach. And if possible, let it heal. I have spoken. Let the world hear me.